Good evening. I'm James Exum, speaking to you from my home in South Austin. My yogic name is Sakshi, which means the witness. That's the name I gave my soul a long, long time ago. The Atman, that is that spark of the divine that's within the human body between the first breath taken and the last breath expelled. I did a series of, in fact, there were 10 of them, a series of discourses on the subject of yoga paradoxes. And now I'm going to go to a lighter subject, yoga's philosophy's positive impact on well-being. That's self-explanatory. So let's just dive right in. Research into the effects of yoga practice has yielded encouraging results, demonstrating measurable improvements across a range of emotional and psychological challenges. We all have those. Below are examples of specific improvements supported by yoga studies. I'm reading directly from the text that I wrote earlier today. These will be a series of bullet points which will cover much of the subject matter of this evening's video. We'll start with reduced stress levels. Numerous studies show that regular yoga practice lowers cortisol, the primary stress hormone, leading to a decreased sense of stress and greater emotional balance. Now, when we talk about this, we're talking about the physical side of yoga, the asana, the positions, the physical exercises on the mat and off the mat in the yoga studios with a yoga teacher, yoga asana teacher. I'm not a yoga asana teacher. I was when I first started out in 1974, but that was quite a while back. What would that be? About 51 years, something of that nature. And after I taught that, I started moving towards the intellectual side of yoga, the knowledge side of yoga, the textbook side of yoga, and so forth. And I've written many, many papers on the subject, a couple of books, I don't know how many articles, just lots and lots of work, written work. And now I've completed 50 videos on YouTube since I started 2 months and 2 weeks ago. I wanted to get that done before my 75th birthday, which is coming up on September the 30th, which is just a few days off now, about less than a week off. So that reduced stress level and that cortisol is the physical side. But most of this discourse that I'm creating this evening will be on the psychological side, on the philosophical side, the mental side. We'll go next on the list to decreased anxiety. Clinical trials have found that engaging in yoga and meditation, now there's the blend of the asana with the philosophy, and the meditation report significant reduced symptoms of anxiety, including less racing thoughts and improved relaxation. Well, if you can slow down the mind and its little whirlwinds that it experiences and its little looping of things that it likes to focus on, and most of the time negative things, then you can improve your relaxation. Elevation of Depression will be the next one, and those are random controlled trials indicate that yoga intervention results in fewer depressive symptoms, increased feelings of hope, and greater overall mood stability. Well, we all want that in our lives. And being an old yogi, I pretty much exist that way. And that's not bragging, that's just fact, because I've accomplished most of the things, if not mastered most of the things that I'm discussing this evening. Improved anger management. Well, there's one I'm still a little bit weak on. My mother was Irish, so I have sort of a flash temper. It can come rather quickly, and then I have to grab hold of it and talk sense into it, so to speak, and calm it down. but I'm a hell of a lot better than I was when I was in my teens. I could tell you that for sure. Elevation, improved anger management, elevated anger. Studies reveal that yoga helps practitioners develop better anger regulation with increases in patience. Well, that comes with age also for some of us, and empathy. You're pretty much born with empathy, or your parents, if you have an empathic person, someone in your family that shows empathy all the time and you're growing up, you will learn that from them, hopefully. And empathy observed over time. I'm going to read that again. Improved anger management. Studies reveal that yoga helps practitioners develop better anger regulation with increases in patience and empathy observed over time. The next one is lesser feelings of fear. Mindfulness practices in yoga have been shown to reduce the frequency and intensity of fear-based responses through the building of inner confidence, resilience. The next one is enhanced social connections. Research highlights that group yoga studies and yoga practices, the asana side, foster feelings of community and belonging, helping to counteract loneliness and social withdrawal. There's a lot of that going on in our society here in America now. Boosted self-esteem. Yoga studies document improvement in self-acceptance and body image, particularly healthy for those struggling with low self-esteem or self-doubt. And if I don't go into each one of these bullet points in depth, that's okay, because what's coming next will be either giving each one of these highlighted sections, like the boosted self-esteem, the lesser feelings of fear, enhanced social connections, release from guilt, and so forth. I will create individual videos on either one of these at a time or a group of them that are interconnected at a time. So there will be several of these videos coming out. As I said, this is introduction, and the introduction video, and this will be number one. How many there will be, I don't like to predict, because most of the time I'm off low or high end. So we'll move down to release from guilt and shame. There are a lot of people walking around with guilt and shame. I live in a semi-retirement community, 55 and older. This is not a nursing home. We do have nurses come and visit some of the older patients here, or older residents here. I had nurses come to me from the VA for several years while I've lived here. I've lived here going into my 10th year now, and I really love it. I love the fact I'm amongst my peers and my social class, so to speak. And it's just a very nice place to live, but it's not a working community like a nursing home or something of that nature, or a retirement community, thank goodness. My sister just moved into one a while back. She just turned 80 years old back in March. I will be 75 on September the 30th, as I said earlier in some of the other videos. And I accomplished my goal the other day of creating 50 videos in the first 2 months and 2 weeks of coming on to YouTube and creating videos for the first time in my life. I'm a writer, I'm a yogi, I'm a yogic philosopher, and I'm a narrator writer, as I said. I just love my work. Let's get back to release from guilt and shame. Mindful movement and compassion-based yoga practices help participants process and let go of guilt and shame, supporting emotional healing. Again, when I start doing individual videos on this group of subjects I'm discussing with you this evening, I'll go deeper into each one of these, either individually or in a group, a collective group. Support with grief. Yoga-based therapies have been found to ease symptoms of grief, providing tools for acceptance and emotional processing. Lowered jealousy and negative comparisons. Practices focusing on gratitude and contentment, which is in the yogic phrase is santosha, are linked to diminished jealousies and less frequent social comparisons. I'll definitely do one video on that subject. Relief from restlessness and insomnia. Well, if you're part of my older group that follow my videos or bump into them or for the first time, that problem with sleeping quality pops up quite often. I've learned to conquer it, but perhaps I'll do just a video on that and tell you how I got past that problem. Healthier attachments, we all need those. And there's a lot of mistaken attachments going on in the world right now, politically, between males and females and partners and whatever. You see a lot of videos where families are just torn apart, or new budding relationships where love is involved, or at least lust. They've chosen the wrong partner for whatever reason, and they have to really deal with it because they're in an unhealthy attachment situation. Studies showed that the cultivation of non-attachment, which is vairagya, in yoga practice, supports more balanced relationships and reduces dependency. That will definitely be a single video in the future. There's quite a few of these, so let's just keep rolling. Reduction in negative thinking. That will be a single. Yoga and meditation are associated with more positive outlooks and a decrease in rumination, which is reflection, and obsessive thoughts. When you ruminate on something, you just go over it over. A lot of lawyers ruminate on their cases and the facts that they'll be presenting to the judge, and the examples of working defense or offense, so to speak. Strengthen self-confidence. This will be another video. Regular practice is linked to greater inner trust, confidence, and a sense of personal agency. Emotional balance. Yoga studies report increased emotional regulation, leading to fewer mood swings and improved psychological stability. Well, we can all increase that, can't we? And not only increase, but maintain once we've learned how to deal with it. Prevention of burnout. A lot of young people are burning out. I see that all the time. Evidence suggests that yoga reduces feelings of exhaustion and helps restore energy through relaxation and mindful rest. Well, you see how I speak to you. I don't speak in an excited way, sometimes in a hurried way, but not. But in the interior, it's like a very, like the surface of a small pond or lake. The surface is very calm. That's one of the beauties of mastering yoga philosophy, is to create that sense of calmness within yourself and to maintain it. So that's how I deal with not being burned out. I work very hard. Sometimes I work from 4 in the morning to almost midnight. I take breaks in between, of course. Most of the breaks actually are another form of working. My research, to me, is a break from narrating these videos. My cleaning of my house, even though I'm physically working, it's a break from the video making and the research. My paintings, all those paintings you see in the background back there, are another form of work, but in a hobby-like way. But it's still physical work, and mental work to create those, to conceive them, and get the color schemes right, and so forth and so on. So here's the last one in the bullets. Enhanced sense of purpose. Now this will definitely be, the ones I pointed out individually will be individual videos. The other ones I might be able to group them together in sets. Enhanced sense of purpose. Practices encouraging self-inquiry and reflection. Well, self-inquiry is part of my research. I'll think of a question. I might be lying on my bed first thing in the morning before I get out of bed. And I'll say to myself, what are you going to do to research today? What are you going to write about today? And I'll just, I'll lay there and all of a sudden something will just pop into my mind. And I go, oh, and then I'm off and running. There's my inspiration. I get up and I do the research and I do the paper. I do the writing of the paper. Sorry about that. I didn't realize my phone was about to fall out of its little holder here, but I put it back in place. Saved it just in time. I have yet to drop this phone. Of course, I've had it less than a year. So, in fact, I got it around Christmas of last year. These examples highlighted how yoga philosophy, when put into practice, can lead to meaningful and lasting improvements. Very, very succinct. And those improvements can be in mental health and emotional support and resilience. And most of these, in fact, all of them, were documented by contemporary scientific studies. Now, I did not list these studies for you, but if I've ever required to, I'll do the inquiry, and then I'll do a sort of a bibliographic listing, a source, and quotes and sources. I call them. And gosh, it looks like that's the end of this introduction video. Yeah, so there it is. So let's not go over the highlights, so to speak, but let's go back to the beginning and wrap it up this way. So this is Yoga Philosophy's Positive Impact on Well-Being, video number 1, Introduction, by Sakshi James H. Exum, the old yogi here in South Austin. And that's what this is all about. So I'll go ahead and close. I'm going to try to keep them under 20 minutes, usually 30 if they're more involved. If I do a set of them, that will definitely be 30, sometimes 45 minutes. But I try to keep them in that 30-minute range because that's just about the ability for most Americans nowadays to stay focused, about 30 minutes on a video. Now, if it's a movie and it's exciting, you can do an hour 15. But I noticed the average movies I watch now are under an hour and 20 minutes. And most of those are action-packed. The documentary float around an hour or 45 minutes. So it's Yoga Philosophy, Positive Impact on Well-Being by James H. Exum, also known as Sakshi. Now, why do I go by the name Sakshi? That's the name I gave to my soul. What is my soul? My soul is my Atman, is that little voice you hear in your head, so to speak, that comes to you in times of need and whispers suggestive solutions to what's going on. Sometimes it'll warn you of things that are coming at you that you didn't notice. If you pay attention to that voice, then you can learn to grow closer to it. Then you can actually learn to communicate with it. And I'm at that level and have been for quite a while. So I'm going to go ahead and close now. And I'm going to do it this way, the way I've always done it since I started these videos. Thank you so much for coming and visiting with me. If you enjoyed it, that's great. If you didn't, that's okay too. And here's the rest of it. Be good to yourself. Be good to others. Even strangers. Well, actually, more especially strangers. And who knows, in a while, maybe all this political problems we're having and economic upheaval we're dealing with will go away and we'll be back to our old society. Then we can look at each other at that point and say, isn't it wonderful to be back to Earth One, as they say nowadays. Well, again, thank you. I hope you have a very nice evening or day or morning, or whatever time frame you're in when you visit this video. And I'll see you later. Bye-bye.